Are Anteatrs OP? You gotta react to my cringe horror trailer I made. Is it on TikTok? Okay. Are Anteatrs OP? What do you guys think? I only know Anteatrs from Advark. Remember Advark? Damn. What in the CGI?
Ants are one of the most overpowered factions in the game.
Let me know if the volume's too loud.
Their go-wide-use social strategy is essentially unbeatable, to the point
just
where they
eat ants,
control
bro.
wide swaths of the overworld pretty much uncontested.
Okay.
Even the human build, the
What?
undisputed top tier in the current meta, has trouble keeping ants at bay. And
That
with
is
their
a huge
variety of
ants, bro.
incredible abilities,
Advark's
from
ants.
acidic projectiles and powerful
Okay,
stingers,
yeah.
coordinated
My bad.
attack strategies, and terraforming abilities.
My
I don't think it's much
bad.
of a surprise that ants are such a meta-defining force.
So what are the difference?
And yet, there's
What's the
one
difference?
build which can obliterate an entire colony in
Kinda look
only
the
a few
same.
minutes. The Anteater. But
That
does
boy just
having
goes-
a super favorable matchup
He just
against
goes
other
in the
games'
he just goes in the ant hills with his long nose and just packs them up.
top tier builds actually translate into the Anteater being top tier itself. There's so
Let's
much more
go,
to the
Tuna.
Anteater build
I thought she
than just
build. I
being
never
able to
build,
solo
man.
an entire
I never
colony of
build.
ants
I was just
and
on the
bees.
bus
So
coming
in
home. I had
today's
2
video, we'll
exams.
discuss all the abilities
I
and
never build on my
weaknesses of the
boys, on my
Anteater
dogs.
to
Come on.
determine.
Alright, Anteatrs OP, okay?
Anteaters are only playable on the South America server, in both jungle and savanna biomes.
Can y'all hear the audio?
And this is not an easy
nicely?
server to try to carve a niche into. I know I drone on a lot about how OP African builds are, but the
Bro,
Amazon
South
rainforest
America
is
has so
home to
many
the
bugs,
most fearsome
bro.
predators in the game, including the snake build with the largest
yuck.
size, and
I can't
the fear
sleep
build
right now, it's
with the
way
most
too
powerful
humid.
bite, among
Damn.
many other incredibly
What was that?
It's home to some of the most fearsome predators in the game.
What do you mean by humid?
Including the
I've been
snake
waiting
build
for
with the
him. My weekend was
largest
boring.
size,
Hey,
and
man,
the
I'm
fear
glad I could be
build
here,
with the
man.
most powerful
Yo,
bite,
he's killing
among
a
many other
capybara.
incredibly dangerous
No,
predators.
it's decent, but could be a little bit.
Meanwhile, the
Okay.
Anteater's closest living relative is
Put on
the
100%.
sloth.
Yeah,
A
jazz
build
band
with so
concert is-
many devastating
bro,
flaws
that's fire.
that
I
I
wanna
currently
be in a
rate it
band
as the
too.
mammal furthest down on the tier
Sloths.
list. So how is it that the Anteater is able to survive such a hostile metagame? Well, they may be
How does
closely
it-
related to the pathetic moss-covered slugs that Human Faith builds
Why they
named
make a
one of the seven
Nintendo
deadly
Switch
sins
and a PS5?
after. But they're also related to this, Megatherium, the
Megatherium.
gigantic ground sloth that was capable of one-shotting a saber
Damn.
tooth. And in my
That is a
opinion,
huge sloth.
Anteaters take after this type of sloth. To see what I
Yeah,
mean,
Christmas
let's
is
look
soon,
at
bro.
their
What are you
stats.
guys getting
There
for
is
Christmas?
Some variation among different Anteater builds, which we'll get into later in
Yo,
this video.
that is a
But for
big
now, we're gonna
Anteater.
focus on
Yo.
the giant Anteater.
They're
Pulling
actually
up the
huge.
analysis, 2 things jump out right
Their
away.
face just looks
the first
weird.
is their shockingly high HP stat. While they don't have any major form of
have
armor,
commander crimes
the
against
Anteater can
Skyrim
still
people.
shake off a surprising
Damn.
amount of damage, even from attacks that might normally
He's talking about the
one-shot
giant
most
sloth in his
players.
Ice Age tier
This
list. I
is
think I watched
crucial,
that.
as it allows the Anteater a chance
did
to
watch that.
survive ambushes by jaguars.
So they
which
have
is
good
pretty
HP.
incredible, given that jaguars frequently one-shot crocodilians.
Damn.
But this is also extremely important.
How's
because
that-
it
how's that
provides
possible,
an
though?
opportunity for the Anteater's other
Giant
surprisingly
Anteaters
high
can be
stat
7 feet long from head to
relevant.
tip.
That stat
Crazy.
being their attack power. This attack power stat might look like a mistake, especially given that Anteaters
Oh,
don't even have
yuck.
teeth and are
He's
completely
freaky.
locked out of using the move Bite. However,
Oh,
once
damn.
you get
Oh, yeah,
past
they
the
can't
head
bite
and
'cause
look
they're-
down, you realize that at the end of their massive gorilla arms,
They are
Anteaters
actually
have
strong.
pickaxe-shaped claws
Oh,
as big as
damn.
those of a grizzly bear. Except the Anteater's claws are even sharper because they walk on their
Damn.
knuckles to avoid wearing them down.
Damn.
These incredible
Here's a
weapons
picture.
are
I'll
what
check it
allow
out.
the Anteater to tear through the cement-like walls of termite
Damn.
mounds with ease.
Well, they eat
But they
termites
come
too.
with the nice side benefit of being able to absolutely eviscerate any player who fails to kill them in one hit. Their slashes can easily deal lethal
Wait, I
damage.
think I already watched that
Any
before,
predator
remember?
looking to ambush an Anteater
We watched
needs
it
to make
before.
sure they have what it takes to finish
I'm
the
pretty sure
job
we watched it
before
before.
the Anteater can counterattack. And this threat alone is often enough to
No,
dissuade
no,
attacks
don't kill
in the
that
first
dog. Don't kill
place.
that.
While the
Yo,
Anteater's
it's just
matchup with the
yo. The
Jaguar
Anteater actually looks hella weird, bro. Like, look at the build of this. Look at the build of this animal. It just looks weird.
threat alone is often enough to dissuade
Long
attacks in the
head,
first place.
long
While the
nose.
Anteater's matchup with the Jaguar is of course important, it wouldn't be fair to the Anteater player base if I didn't comment
Fighting
on their
against
matchup
the whole
versus their
Jaguar.
social insect colonies.
Crazy.
The Anteater's 2-foot-long tongue
Hey,
is covered
yo.
in glue-like substance and can
Hey,
flick in and out
yo.
over 150 times per minute, which
Hey,
can take
yo.
out dozens of insects per
150
flick and
times
decimate
per
a colony
minute?
in no time. However, similar to their sloth brethren, Anteaters opted for a slower metabolism. This comes with downsides, which we'll cover
No.
later, but it does mean that they don't need to
don't
consume
need to
an
eat too
entire
much.
colony of ants, and can actually leave the colony in a damaged
Yuck.
but recoverable state. This
So
is
they
a
can
highly
keep coming back.
sustainable method of
That's
farming
smart.
XP because
That's
it
smart.
ensures that the Anteater player can simply return to the same
could always
termite
come
mound
back.
or anthill later on, tear into it again, and the colony will have replenished its supply of workers enough that they can just do the same thing again.
Yeah, reactions
It also
first.
means the Anteater doesn't need to
I want to
get
play
any
Roblox, but we gotta
colony
figure out a
very
game
long,
to play on
which is good
Roblox.
because despite how powerful their offensive tools
Yo,
are
that
at
tongue
destroying
is
a colony
freaky,
of
bro.
insects, Anteaters don't actually
He's
have
just
any
packing
unique
the
defensive
termites
abilities
up.
to avoid the damage from the swarm of militant
Yuck.
insects they've just
Look at the ants,
provoked,
look at the ants.
and have to rely solely on their HP to soak up the damage. Of course,
I'm
as
going
mentioned
digging on
prior,
Roblox.
because of their
Okay.
high HP stat, Anteaters are well equipped to tank a lot of hits. But the acid attacks launched by termites and ants certainly aren't something they can just ignore for extended durations.
Oh, man.
The rest of the Anteater stats are fairly
Yo, look at it. It looks weird.
Anteaters aren't as sluggish as sloths, but because of their slow metabolism,
look so
they do
long,
have
bro.
a below average movement speed. Given that they've spec'd
They got
into
good
massive
stats, though.
claws on their forelimbs rather than more mobility favoring options like
And they're
paws or hooves,
like the back of their body after their hind legs is so long it looks
this
weird.
low speed is too
Look at the
surprising.
tail.
It's a worthy
Sheesh.
trade-off, in my opinion. Their stealth stat is also middle of the
Is there
road.
anything you
They
look
don't
for in a
stick out
Roblox
as bad
game?
as some builds, but aren't the
Just
best
something
camouflage
fun.
either.
That's
The
all.
Anteater
Find something
can
fun
hide
that we
under
could
its
play
bushy tail,
together.
disguising itself as a bush while also shielding itself
Wow,
from the
it's
cold. But as far
disguising
as
itself as a bush.
plant-style disguises go, there are certainly more impressive displays out there. The Anteater's intelligence isn't great either. They'd form quite a formidable force in group.
Did you see that? What was bro looking for in his mouth?
Out there. The Anteater's intelligence
Hey,
isn't great
yo.
either. They'd form quite a
FNAF
formidable
Doom is
force
played
in
out.
groups,
I wanna
yet
play something
rarely
fun.
engage in team strategies, if ever. Their last main weakness is their poor eyesight. It's
Oh,
a
they
good
can't
thing they
see.
don't go down in one hit, because the tiny eyes on the sides of their heads do
Yeah,
not
because
give them
their
the
nose
best
is so
odds at
long.
detecting an ambush before the attacker is within striking range. Next, let's delve into some of the individual variants of the Anteater. The giant
Okay.
Anteater is by far the most powerful,
Because
at
it's
the cost
huge?
of its mobility. The giant Anteater is the only
It's
variant
huge.
that lacks the ability to climb trees.
What's the
Despite their
Whoa.
claws being phenomenal for hooking into
Whoa.
trees, giant anteaters simply are too cumbersome to venture into the canopy. There are two other variants of the Anteater build.
He was
Both
trying to
variants
scale
are
the tree.
much better at climbing. First is the Tamandua. This
Tamandua.
mid-sized anteater sports a
It
slightly
looks so
lower
small.
base power
Damn,
and
he's
hit
holding
point
his.
stat than the
He's
giant
standing his
anteater,
ground
but
versus
in
a big
exchange,
dog.
It has unlocked a powerful new ability, a prehensile tail. This perk
Oh.
allows the user to use its
Like a
tail
monkey.
essentially as a fifth appendage, granting it additional
That's
resistance
nice.
to being knocked down while browsing high up in the treetops.
Yo, what's all
Because
that?
of its
Oh,
lower
look.
HP,
Look, did you see the ants on his
resistance to being
body?
knocked down
Sheesh.
while browsing high up in the treetops.
High
Because
risk,
of its
high
lower
reward.
HP stat, this build can't tank acid damage as well as the giant anteater, and so it needs to avoid high-tier ant builds like the leaf
Damn.
cutter ant. The final variant is the pygmy anteater,
Pygmy
a
ant-
nocturnal build
anteater.
that invests more into its stealth than other stats,
That's a
drastically
very
cutting its
small
bulk
anteater.
and damage in turn.
Yo,
In my
look at its
opinion,
stats. Ah, that's good stealth though. But apart from that, it's so terrible.
The pygmy anteater
The pygmy
is a bit
anteater is so
too
sweet
similar
looking.
to the
It does not.
sloth build
The pygmy
to
anteater
be
does not
considered
look like a
competitively
tough guy.
viable. But to each their own. Although the ability to climb does come in handy for escaping predators, the giant
It's so
anteater
slow.
doesn't seem to miss it much. While the other variants need to worry about attacks from eagles, the giant anteater's
Damn.
bulk is enough to protect it from most threats.
It's so funny when it's like trying to fight. It goes like this. Like are you trying to go? It's trying to make itself big,
Its
like a
matchup
bear.
versus the jaguar is still pretty risky, but it's better than
Damn.
most. So I'm going to give the giant anteater a rating of A tier, while the Tamandua gets a
That's
rank
good.
of B tier.
What a
and the
pygmy.
pygmy anteater gets a D tier rank.
Damn.
One of the most effective ways to lock in a high placement on the tier list is to have high base stats. And while most
I know it's
stats
about to be an
require
ad. This
millions
is about to
of
be an
years of
ad.
evolution to change, intelligence is one of the few stats which can be
It's about to
leveled
be an
up,
ad.
provided you are the right
When they
sort of
hold their
trainer.
arms out, they're
In
showing off
today's
their
meta,
claws.
abilities
Oh,
like coding and mathematics
makes
are
sense.
extremely useful.
They're-
tough to
they're-
learn,
they're showing you,
unless
hey,
you've got
man,
a really
it's
effective
dangerous
course
out here.
designed to intuitively guide
It's
you through
dangerous out here, man.
concepts. That's precisely
Hey,
where
WI.
today's sponsor.
They're like, oh, it's dangerous out here. You don't want to catch these claws, bud. You don't want to catch these claws tonight.